Hey, how's it going, guys? I know of a great story that takes place in northern Sweden. A pair of cousins were attacked by fairies or elves or something like forest crackheads. It's a short story, but after I finish the story, I'm going to tell you a story about my family that happened back in the 70s involving a similar cryptid. And I'm going to tell you the mythos of these elves and gremlins, trolls, dwarves, whatever you want to call them, from around the world. I'm going to briefly go over them, but I really want to cover them at a later date. I just want to get this video done so I can at least say, hey, I produced some content because I know that I've been gone for a while, and there's no excuse other than I can't handle negative comments. And even though YouTube is so supportive, I get some hate on TikTok, and it made me want to quit, or it made me quit, to tell you the truth. I wasn't sure if I was going to come back. I think I can handle it better now, but sometimes the hate really gets to me, guys. I'm super sensitive, and when people mock me or say I suck at videos, it makes me not want to do it. And I'm just not like strong like other people where they can, like Luffy from One Piece, where he can just, F everybody and keep going. It's just tough. And also, I'm extremely lazy, and getting the will or the energy to go and do it is hard. So I'm not gonna promise anything. I'm gonna do the best I can to produce content and hope that you guys stick it out with me. Well, anyways, let's get to the stories, and please follow me on Instagram um, at oh my god, guys, sorry, at Captain Hokage, which is Captain and then Hokage spelled Hokage. And let me know if you play World of Warcraft. I have a guild on the Boulderfist server and would love to invite you to join the Whitebeard Pirates again on the Boulderfist server. Now let's start the show. Bunkai. That was a pretty good Bunkai. Anyways, I don't know the name of the person, as the sources I got the story from did not share his name. I got this story from Top Mysteries on YouTube. Freaking great channel. Go check him out. He is super underrated. He's a lot like Bob Gimlin. Very good. But, he just doesn't have the subs like if someone, he's as good as Mr. Ballin, but he gets, he has a fraction of the freaking subs. So go check him out, please. He's great. Top Mysteries. I'll put the link in the bio. Okay, so the story starts in northern Sweden, and it involved a pair of cousins and grandparents. Now, their grandparents owned a few cabins in a remote forest where the family would go spend time. And the cabins, they had I don't know how many cabins, but we know for sure that they have two. And I'm not sure if there's more. And these two cabins were about 90 feet away, or I think that's 30 meters. Yeah, I think 30 meters. I don't know the metric system too well. So forgive me if you're across the pond, as you guys like to say. The grandfather told the boys that he would see little elves in the area, look at him behind bushes and along the tree line. He would say that he always felt like he was being watched, but he was super respectful and hoped that they didn't find him to be an intruder, because they're visiting the forest, and even though he owns the land, elves don't recognize who owns the land or not. They don't recognize human law. Let's just pretend they're real, okay, guys? This is a paranormal channel. I hope you believe in these things so I can talk as if they're real. And the grandfather would tell stories to the cousins, and one of the cousins, the main character, let's just call him George, and then let's call the other guy David, because I got a friend David that would do exactly what this guy did. So George, the main character, the narrator of the story, says that he believed his grandpa. He didn't think his grandpa was one of those dudes that lied, and he just his grandfather was a trustworthy source. So the grandpa would tell stories all the time, and one day while they're hiking, the grandpa's telling them some story, and a few minutes go by and it's silent. I'm assuming the grandfather took a break from telling the story, and one of the cousins goes, "Hey, look, I found a trail to the homes of the elves. Look it over here." And he says it in a mocking tone, right? And the grandfather says, "Don't do that. That's really bad. They're going to get mad. Please stop." And he's a freaking teenager, so he goes, "Okay, my bad. Haha, the grown-up's telling me what to do." And then the narrator got nervous. I think he got nervous. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he got nervous. And as everything's cool for the rest of the day. Then they go to sleep. Now, like I said, the cabins, they were the grandparents were staying in one, and the pair of cousins were staying in another. Well, pretty soon the cabin starts to shake, and this is very similar to what you hear that skunk apes, Bigfoot, different ape cryptids, they'll throw rocks at the cabin, and it's being pelted from all around. And these the brothers are scared. So, and the scary part was that they were on bunk beds, and the bunk beds were like, I think on the bottom, I don't know if it was the bottom or the top, it felt like the bottom of their bed was being punched. So they're being attacked from all around the cabin, but inside the house the freaking bed is also shaking, and it feels like someone's punching their mattress. So they're in the cabin, but they're not in the cabin. And you often hear this thing, I think in South America, there's the way the legend goes, as South America or Europe, they both have the same exact stories. You have the Duendes in Central and South America, and then you have the fair folk in Europe. And they say the same thing. I want to say it's Europe. I'm pretty sure it's Europe. But they say that if you hear whistling and it's really close to you, that means that the elves aren't near you. They're actually further away. But if you hear the whistling and it's very faint and you can hardly hear it, that means they're right next to you, and you have to be careful. And it's like, I don't know, it's like quantum physics or something. It's just like the opposite of what you would think. Like something's moving and still. I'm not going to pretend I understand physics, but it's just something. It's really hard to explain these like things that you hear about the paranormal, because it's beyond our scientific understanding. That's what paranormal means. So you hear these things and people say, well, where's the proof, George? So there's no proof. The only proof we have is human perception and memory. So it's hard to explain to people that, hey, these things can do things that we just don't understand. They're on a different level than we are, like we are on a different level than chimps. And I think it's very fair to say that, because if you just go into the history of cryptids and all this stuff, you start to see the crazy stuff that they do. So back to the story. So they're being pelted, their beds are shaking, they're freaking terrified, and they go outside and they run to their grandparents' cabin. They're freaking terrified. And I don't know if they waited until the rock stopped. The story wasn't clear, but they just run to the grandparents. The grandpa goes, God dang it, I told you guys, it's okay. I know how to fix it. So in the morning they wake up, and the grandfather leaves treats and sweets all over the forest. And that seems to appease the fair folk. It's expected for you to leave treats. And I guess fairies don't like iron. And I read about that in a book in this one, The Purple Emperor. I think that's what the book was called. It's a really good series. And the way that they explain it is that the fairies hate iron, and you have to be extremely careful of taking any food or drinks from them. Like there's numerous stories of fair folk, which they usually come in the form of women or girls, like really pretty young girls. And they come up to men, and they go, hey, would you like a cup of, this sweet nectar or something? And the best way to see, if you could look and see what's behind their back, then you can see that they're like hollow or some shit like that. And there's like different ways to figure it out. I'm actually going to go rent a book from the library on fairies. I've been meaning to do it for a bit, but I noticed that the library down the street from me has a lot of cool books on fantasy, or myths. Because I used to actually check out a lot of the Greek myths there. So I'm gonna see if they have any like Irish myths or Scandinavian myths, and I'll get back to you guys, I hope. Anyways, so you're not supposed to take food from the fairies. You're not supposed to take water or food. And if you make a deal with them, you have to be really careful about how you can, like, how you go along. Like, how do you deal with them? Like, let's say, for example, in Aragon, if you guys ever read the Aragon fantasy series, the elves would tell you the truth and then trick you by telling the truth. They would tell you the truth, but in a way that was hard for you to really grasp what they were saying, and they would trick you. And it's almost like, be careful what you wish for. Like, say, I wish I was the strongest man on the planet, but what you don't realize is, like, if you say, I wish I was the strongest, you go up to someone, you tap them on their back, you break their back. You can't open doors anymore because you don't have control over your strength. So you have to be extremely careful. Or the Greek myth of King Midas, where anything he touched turned to gold, including his daughter and food. And elves are very tricky. So you have to be extremely careful. And I think there's even a story of an elf being outsmarted by a person, and then he was able to get away from the fairy, and then the person somehow was able to get a wish from them, and the wish was like to be as strong as 20 men or something like that. And then even then it was like, be careful what you wish for, and it didn't end up being perfect. And that's the thing, is when you deal with the fair folk, it never goes the way of the humans. I don't even think there's like one story of things going well for fairies. So it's extremely important that if you guys ever run into them, don't say thank you if they give you something. Just say I appreciate it. That's what Top Mystery says, but he does his research, and I looked into it, and it's true. Like, you have to be very careful about how you talk to the fair folk. Duendes are weird. The ones in Mexico, oh my God, I went on a tangent. I'm sorry, guys. This is my first video back, so forgive me. Let's go back to the story, and I'll go on the tangents, okay? So in the story, the grandfather leaves food, and then the fair folk were fair. Actually, I did finish the story, guys. I think that is the story. It's very short. So yeah, that's the story. I actually, so they go to the forest. The dumb cousin says a stupid joke. The fairies get really upset. The fair folk get upset with him, and they attack him. And then the grandfather appeases them by giving them chocolate and sweets and stuff. And that's the one thing, they love sweets. So if you go to the forest area, leave little candy. Just make sure that it's just candy and you don't have any plastic or wrapper, so we don't litter. And you leave them. You don't bring iron, and you make sure that you leave them candy and stuff. It's extremely important that you remember that. That's what I've been told and I've read, and Top Mystery said it too. So it's like 3 people saying it. It has to be true, even though we're talking about possibly things that don't exist. And I wanted to be, every single episode, I want to tell you guys something that I believe in. And the best, I've always thought, and I think the Hindus believe in something called the Akasha records, which is like anything that's ever been created is like an internet. There's like this this spiritual internet that everybody that has ideas comes from there. Every little thing you could ever think of has been created in this like ether. And one thing that you guys have to remember, I'm extremely I'm extremely logical, but I'm also willing to understand that I don't know everything. All right, screw all that. Let's start our next story. So I should probably make another video, but let's just keep going. Let's make this one a little longer than I would like. So this happened to my parents and my 2 aunts. My dad was about 4 to 5 years old, and he was playing with his sister. He had his 2 younger sisters. They were like 3 and 2 respectively. And what happened was, they were playing like baseball in the master bedroom of their parents' house. And they're in the master bedroom, and what I imagine, the details are gray for my father, but he says that he was pitching the ball, or they were playing some ball game that was like baseball, where he was further away from the bed, and the 2 girls, my 2 aunts, were right next to the bed. And then something grabs my youngest aunt, and they pull her under the bed. Now my dad does like some crazy diving thing, and he grabs her, and then my other aunt, she's just crying like, what's going on? They see like a hairy arm, and after researching, my father told me that it was like this hairy, impish creature, and it was pulling and pulling. And my dad's like, go grab go grab mom. And my other aunt, she's freaking 3, so she starts crying. She's 3 or 4, she's just wah wah wah. And my dad is like punching whatever is there, just scratching. And my dad said he had both his feet along the frame of the bed, and he was just pulling, and they were able to get her out. And then just at that moment, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I screwed up the story. He couldn't get her out, and she was stuck. And then when they heard, my grandmother heard the crying, she goes, what's going on? And that's when this thing disappeared. And it let go of my aunt, and then all 3 of them are there. So my grandma comes, she's like, what's going on? And they tell her like something tried to take Bati, and that's my aunt. They try to take her leg off. And so she looks at her leg, and there's obviously like it's bruised and scratched, like someone was doing that. And no 5-year-old boy has the strength to grip a girl like that, you know. So my grandma believes it right away, but my grandpa didn't. And he beat the crap out of my father. So take that with what you will. It's Mexican heritage, you know. Back then they're pretty brutal. You know, I think my dad's a Gen X. Like he's like almost a boomer. So you know, that generation, they didn't care. So but yeah, so the duende, I'm pretty sure it was a duende or some creature like that. And it's crazy, like the when you go into wooded areas, there's like rules that you have to work with them. And like in central Mexico, actually it would be southern Mexico, uh like where the Maya are, the duendes there can be good. So you actually ask them for help and they can get people out of the forest. But if you disrespect the forest and you disrespect the duende, which are synonymous with each other, they will screw you over. So it's extremely important that if you're ever in the forest, make sure that you don't leave your trash, because first of all, littering is horrible. You shouldn't do that. And two is, these things don't like it. Don't take rocks. Don't take things that belong to the forest. Another thing that Top Mystery said is, if you if you're hanging out by a tree and it looks like the tree is well cared for, it probably belongs to a creature of sorts. Or just make sure that you don't mess it up. And the Greeks, you know, they believed that each tree and river and stream, everything had like nymphs or gods or some type of caretakers that belong to that. And like a tree would have a spirit. And in fact, I forgot how you pronounce it. Did I call it dryads or dy, like aad or something like that? They're like these forest creatures. They're usually really pretty women. And yeah, I mean, men would have sex with these like spirit trees and stuff, which almost, you know, if these things aren't real, then they're, you know, like the Bible, you often hear that they're like symbolism, right? Like they don't actually happen. Like there's this story of a rabbi. He hides under a bunch of teenage beds because this dragon would come and kill these teenage boys. So from what I've heard from other people, if you don't take it literal, what the dragon was masturbation, and that this rabbi was hiding under the bed to catch them having, doing the good stuff, with their giving some self love. And I just find it so funny that, you know, you hear all these like crazy like stories and you realize that it might just be analogies or symbolism, whatever, for metaphors for the real world. But let's just say it is real. It's just the world is so fascinating. I'm so excited, and I really stress myself out, guys. Like when I make videos, I try to cut all my breathing and like, like that weird sound that you make with your mouth. And I apologize for making that sound because I hate it. I hate when people do that. And I think I'm just going to put out content and do very little editing. And then when I edit a video, I'm going to try to make it as complex. And I said in one of my videos that I deleted, I said, I had a surprise for you guys. I got a green screen and I plan on doing it, but I don't get it. And honestly, I need to hire an editor. I guess I don't have the skills, but I'm going to put out content that I can put out. And as the channel grows, hopefully I can afford to get another one. But I had some people unsubscribe, which they should. And I really mean that because, I wasn't putting out content, and I said I was, and I didn't. And, a lot of it has to do with that I'm lazy, that I love playing World of Warcraft, and that, like, I really didn't want to make TikTok. Because on TikTok, I get decent views, and or I used to get decent views, like a lot of views. But now I get, a few thousand and shit, which I'm cool with that. I actually told my friend that I prefer to get a few thousand people watching my videos instead of hundreds of thousands, because hundreds of thousands have more haters, and they come and they disrespect you. And it just hurts my feelings, and I just can't do that. But I am not going to go over 21 minutes. So I am at 19:15. So let's just keep talking for a little bit. So the whole notion of like me getting better at talking, I want to make sure that I'm constantly doing work. And I got a new microphone too. My friend got me a new microphone. So I really want to do work with you guys. And I want you guys to see what I can do. And hopefully with time I get better at doing this stuff. So I'm rambling. So what can we talk about that's good? I want to talk about something good. Oh yeah, the Acacia records. So the Acacia records are these like these weird style, like this weird internet, right? Where you can get stuff, like where you get these ideas. And like when someone writes a book, like let's say Tolkien, right? He wrote the Lord of the Rings. He didn't actually write the Lord of the Rings. He like received it in a like a he downloaded it, like it was already created. And I like that idea. And I also like the idea that the Acacia records or something like it is actually the multiverse, and that anything that you think of actually exist in another world with different rules in a different universe, with complete different physics and stuff. And that every, like the Superman universe, like the DC universe, the Marvel universe, the Harry Potter universe, it's all real. It's just in a different dimension from us. But that also means that if that's real, then you have Lovecraftian monsters that are real. You have all these things, and I think it's so exciting. And it makes sense when you think about how large the multiverse is, that any possibility you can think of has happened and will happen. And it's also really scary because if you think about like all the things that are happening in the world, it pales in comparison to like something as evil as like Cthulhu or the old ones, you know, where it's just like insanity. And so I'm gonna leave it off on that, guys. Thank you so much for supporting me. If you still support me, then I appreciate it. Check out my TikTok channel. I think it's George D. Lopez 9. Go to my Instagram, check that out. And thank you so much for your support, guys. I think I'm just going to put this video out with like no video or screenshots or anything. I'm just going to put the Bigfoot Paranormal Hour. I'm just going to put that on there. And this is going to be more of a little bit of a podcast. So it's a little longer than I wanted to, but I'm cool with that. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of content. And I think it's interesting because I wish I had someone to talk to about the paranormal. So if you believe in the paranormal and you like just talking about this stuff, even if you just like it for entertainment, comment, please let me know what you think. Like the video if you like it, or give it a thumbs down if you don't. I'm cool with it. It's gonna hurt my feelings, but at least I know that you listen. If you listened to the whole thing and you got to this point and you're like, you know what, I didn't like this video, give it a thumbs down, because you still listen to it. You gave me 21 minutes of watch time. I give you permission to give me the downvote, and that's the goddamn truth. I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I love you. I'm putting this out, and I will always tell you how much I love you. Come join the Whitebeard Pirates on Boulderfish server, please. Please, it'll be awesome. I can't wait. All right, later, guys. Peace.